Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Hour. And we got a special guest for you from all the way from Florida on the Maurice Brown Comedy Hour as at this 4 o'clock hour. She is on the nationally syndicated radio show, the Soul Funny radio show with Stefan Van, who is a friend to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. Stefan was on the Maurice Brown Comedy Hour last, well, probably 3 years ago. Me and Stefan hooked up. He did a great job. He was awesome. Um, this guest of ours, who is the 2012 winner of the Laugh Factor competition held at the Faith Center International in Sunrise, Florida, is going to be with us. She has also been in several stage productions as well as a comedian for the last 15 years. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the very funny and the very talented Felicia Frazier, better known as AKA comedian Fefe from the Soul Funny radio show. And she did have to step out for just a second because we're having some technical difficulties with Wi-Fi. So she should be with us momentarily. She was here. She had to step out, refresh her computer, and then come back in. So this, let me tell you something. Anybody that's been watching this show when I was on Instagram, let me tell you something. We are a whole lot better off now. And I'm no longer on Instagram. I'm doing the Facebook Live stuff, and I tell you, there's nothing worse than two old computer dummy, old head dudes that. So what right now, Felicia is restarting her laptop, so I'll give her a couple more minutes. But yeah, Felicia, she knows what she's doing, but there's nothing worse than two computer dummy dads on Instagram trying to go live. There's nothing worse than that. Can you hear me now? Hey, you're sideways. Yeah, we need to get off Instagram. We're on Facebook Live. What's up, everybody? Good to be with you. Like I said, we have comedian Fefe from Florida coming up on the show. Well, we had some issues with our Wi-Fi, so she's just kind of restarting that. So we're gonna be talking with her momentarily. Like I said, just to refresh everybody, if you just came in, she was the 2012 winner of the Laugh Factor competition at the Faith Center in Sunrise, Florida. And she is also a regular on the nationally syndicated radio show, Soul Funny radio show, hosted by the very talented and the very funny Stefan Van. So you can hear them, of course, with this pandemic. You can hear and watch that show on Zoom, which is, and I'll get all the particulars from comedian Fefe when she comes back in. Felicia Frazier is with us, ladies and gentlemen, on the Maurice Brown Comedy Hour. She had to step out and refresh her screen. And Wi-Fi, I'm telling you, Wi-Fi could be a real difficult thing from time to time. And then, I'm 56, so I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. Which that's a whole other problem in and of itself. 56-year-old dude. My son ordered some equipment the other day, and I mean, and it was some awesome stuff. And he had his buddies over. They were trying to put it together, and I'm over there, typical computer dummy dad. I'm like, yo, whoa, man, what are you guys doing? This stuff is awesome. What's going on? What you doing? And then my son, he looks at me without comment. Translation: don't you see grown people talking? I said, I'll be upstairs if you need me. He didn't need me. But anyway, so we're waiting for comedian Felicia Frazier, to join us on the Maurice Brown comedy. Very funny lady. You got to check her out. She's been a comic for 15 years in the Florida area. Christian comedian, gospel comedian. Got some great stuff. You got to watch her. You got to check her out. And also Stefan Van, who she works with. Very funny gentleman. You got to check him out as well. And I highly advise you to book them for your next function whatever it may be, on whatever level your next church function. Look Stefan Van up, look comedian Fefe up, look up the Soul Funny radio show. Excellent Christian entertainment. It's as good as it gets. I highly advise you to do that. And Stefan was on my show that I produce 2 or 3 times a year, the Maurice Brown Comedy Show, normally in Woodbridge, Virginia, Northern Virginia. From time to time, it's in Washington, D.C. at the D.C. Draft House. But Stefan was on one of my shows, and he did an awesome job. It's very difficult to find good, solid Christian entertainment in this day and time. And now that we're on the Zoom platforms, or the virtual platforms, if you will, we can actually kind of hook up and network and meet people that we wouldn't normally otherwise be able to hook up with because of distance and travel and so forth. Now all you got to do is just hit a button. It's so easy, even a computer dummy can do it. You see, I'm proof positive of that. Met some folks in Italy. I can do comedy in New York, LA, Miami, Chicago, create a whole new networking stream. And you just can't beat it. You got to be able to take advantage of this. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are awaiting Felicia Frazier. Once again, I'll go over her accolades. She was the winner of the 2012 Laugh Factor competition in Sunrise, Florida at Faith Center International. And she is also the co-host of the Soul Funny radio show, which is hosted and anchored by my main man, Stefan Van, which is also down there in Florida. 15 years she's been a comedian, and she's been in several stage productions as well. And I did mention the fact that she's also into theater. A woman of many talents. And if you want to follow Felicia, you can see on the screen there on Instagram at comedian Fefe. You can follow her there. And if you want to check out her website, you can go to comedianfefe.com. So we're waiting on her to come back in. This Wi-Fi can be a Billy sometimes. And I'm so glad that I transitioned to this platform, because it happened way more often on Instagram. Nothing against Instagram. It just happened way more. Anyone that has been following my show knows that every show had its list of issues. So it is what it is. It's not happened very often here. This is probably, out of 8 shows I've done on this platform, this is probably maybe the second time, if that, it's ever occurred, because the Wi-Fi is just unpredictable. But comedian Fefe is almost ready to join us, but she is very funny. Yes, she is. Yes, Miss Ford, she is funny. And thank you for always stopping by the Maurice Brown Comedy Hour. I talked with your son, Maurice Stephen Stacks Ford, very young, promising comedian. I love that young man. He is hilarious, and he's going places. Got great stage presence. I love to see young comedians get out there and just go for it and dive in, because you can see the finished product before it becomes a finished product. It's like, this young man is going to be special. It's just a matter of time. Comedy is one of those things where you just got to get in there. You got to get in the pot and let it cook. And when I say let it cook, it's not comfortable. Being cooked is not it's not a pleasant experience until you're done. It's a lot of things that come with comedy, and so you got to go through all of that. So that's where Maurice is, but he's already got game. But ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show now the very funny, again, like I said, and very talented comedian Fefe. Hey, Fefe, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm blessed and highly favored. Wearing my dashiki today, repping the motherland,
Well, listen, I'm glad you were able to make it on. I was running out of things to say, Fefe, but thank God.
Look, listen, I
Yeah,
was early, and then the devil, he jumped on the Wi-Fi connection and just messed everything up. I say, see what I get for trying to be on time.
yeah. Well, thank you, ET Ford. I appreciate you. You two have my most favorite names. I appreciate that. Comedian Fefe and Maurice Brown, awesome names. You got to love it. I was uh, I was telling everybody that you're on the Soul Funny radio show with Stefan Van. In what so is that in Pompano Beach?
No, it's actually it streams out of Orlando. We actually have not been in production for maybe about 6 months, 6 or 7 months, because Stefana was having some health problems at the time. So we're
Okay,
supposed to be starting back up this coming fall. But
okay,
yeah, it still streams on the app, on the So Funny app. So if they
yes,
want to check out the show, you can hear some of the recordings and stuff on the So Funny app. Hey,
yeah.
ET.
Well, I know I saw he and his wife they do a show from their home movie theater studio.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's kind of like an offshoot of Soul Funny Radio, or exactly what is that project about?
Well, that project that they're doing now, they're doing well, just to kind of help people who are sitting at home during this whole pandemic season, and they're streaming some of the comedy shows, the live comedy shows that they've done on the Soul Funny tour that they've been producing for the last 10 years, and they're
Yeah,
taking different videos from across that spectrum of all those years and just
yeah.
showcasing them so people can have an opportunity to just laugh and kick back. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's kind of it's kind of just offering a little bit of a escape, you know,
You gotta love it. You gotta
from
love
the
it.
archive.
What what have you been doing to stay busy in entertainment during this pandemic, Fifi?
Listen, man, I got kids. I don't
Uh-oh.
need nothing else.
Woo-hoo-hoo. There it is.
I don't need nothing else. I have a 4-year-old and 11. Well, she'll be one next week. She'll be
Yeah.
1 year old next week. And between them two, I'm tired every day. I have something to do every day because when they're not trying to eat, they're trying to play. When they're not trying to play, they're fighting. When they're not fighting, they're whining. When they're not whining, they're eating again. So I'm busy. I got things to do.
Yes. Yes. Well, hey, Fifi, I know what you're talking about. I got three kids myself. They're kind of big now, 23, 21, and 18. One's about to be 22. But I told them when they were growing up, I said, listen, you're not thugs. Okay? Just understand that you are not thugs. You have a dad who's a black man that talks like Tom Hanks.
Come on now.
Get it? Ain't gonna happen.
Listen,
Well,
because when I get to the barbecue, I'm gonna shame you. They're gonna be like, "That's your dad."
I was like, hey, yo, really? You're a thug wearing braces? Really? Nah, man, stop. But no, I know how it is, though. Hey, Fifi, I know how it is. It's like, wow. But their kids are a blessing, and just to be able to have the ability to raise them and go through certain things, and then if they're in sports, hey, it's Velita. Hey, Velita, how's the new baby, Felicia? Uh,
Oh, she's
coming from
doing
Velita.
well. She's doing really good. She is a piece of work. She's already trying to talk. She's learned how to she's learning words, like different words, which my son, it took him a minute to adjust to that kind of thing. But the other day I was talking to my mom about, trying to do her hair. First of all, her hair don't want to grow right, so I'm just gonna wait on the Lord, and wait,
Yes, yes.
she got like this chimney smoke thing going on at the top, like it's just big curls and then nothing around the sides, so it's just
Right.
like this little chimney thing. So I'm talking
Yeah.
to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to do with her hair, and she's on the other side of the room, like, and I said, how you know what hair is? Go somewhere and sit down. So
Right.
yeah, she knows that. She knows how to say hi. She knows how to say bye. And she thinks she can say other things, but I don't know what she be talking about. She's doing good though. She's learning how to eat, and she wants everybody's food, and she don't want nobody to hold her. She's very independent until you go
Uh-oh.
to the kitchen. When you go to
Okay.
the kitchen, she won't up because she want to see what you're cooking. She ain't
Yeah.
finna be sitting on the sideline. But yeah, she's doing good. She's doing really good.
Amen. Praise the Lord. That's good to hear. Have you tried comedy on the virtual platform?
I actually have recently. Now wait, when the whole pandemic first started and they were doing all these little virtual comedy shows all over the place, I was like, that ain't for me. God ain't
Yeah.
called me for that ministry.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot of these people are they're doing the Instagram comedy show and the Facebook comedy show, and it's just seeing the little hearts and seeing the little laugh emojis, and I'm like, I need to hear some voices. I need some energy coming back at me. I can't just be talking to myself in front of the screen. So I was
Yeah.
real apprehensive,
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
so. And then I did a show with a comedian named Chris Priester, who I've been doing, different events with over the last couple of years
Okay.
from Miami. I
I've
did
heard of
a
Chris.
show with
Uh-huh.
him, and it was at a church, but there was nobody in the audience. So we filmed it for the church.
Oh my goodness.
There was no audience. So that was probably just as weird. So it's like, okay, if I can do that, I guess I can try a little virtual comedy show. And then I recently, June 28th, I think was the first day I signed up for a comedy master class with Michael Collier.
Okay.
So there was about 20 students in the class, and he made us perform every week, once a week, for everybody else on the Zoom call. So
Wow.
after
Wow.
doing that, I'm just like, okay, I guess I can do it. It's not that bad, but I would prefer it on a live, where I can hear voices as opposed to
Yeah.
Instagram. But if I had to, I don't think I would be that intimidated because of that experience that I had with the workshop that I did with Michael Collier. So, because
Okay.
Michael Collier, he just be spitting jokes out. He don't care if you laugh or not. He's gonna laugh at his own self.
Well, so you were doing it on that platform. So I guess you haven't done one where you have all these faces. Well, I guess the class was like that. You were able to see all the faces.
Right. It was very much like that. And then our last class, we had an audience. So there was like 4 pages of faces that you can like scroll over and see. There was probably about 100 and something people in there just to see our final, 5 minutes that we had been working on for the class. So it was cool. It wasn't bad. At one point we had to turn off the microphones just because people they're not conscious of the fact that, hey, when you start talking, we can't hear nobody else. And you got people in there talking about, bring me some toilet tissue. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, this thing is really, this pandemic has been really something. I'll tell you one thing though, I've learned patience, Felicia,
Yeah.
during the I've learned patience. I'm telling you right now, someone stole a car in front of my house the other day. You know what? I did not get mad.
You didn't get mad?
I went outside and I said, whoa, wait a minute. That's my next door neighbor, Mitch's car. And I let it go. Patience, Felicia, patience.
Patience.
Didn't get mad. Gotta love it. But this this pandemic has really caused us to have to really stretch ourselves, because now we actually get more time to write jokes. Because I don't know about you. I mean, I'm going out to these clubs, these open mics, and you're running at this breakneck pace and you don't get a chance to really stop and kind of expand your comedy library because you're just running from show to show. Now that we can't, I get a chance to go, okay, now I can actually start writing more material, which is a good thing. Do you ever do clubs in the city or open mics?
Actually, I don't, which is
Okay.
something that I said this year. I was like, in 2020, I'm gonna step out and I'm gonna go do some open mics and start, doing things other than what I'm used to. And then the pandemic happened. I'm like, well, Lord, you don't want me to go to the clubs and do the open mics. It's a sign. know.
You never know. It might be a sign. You never know.
It might be. But I did want to do it. I had been, trying to, write jokes that aren't necessarily catered to people who only understand church and Christianity, because
Right.
I have a lot of those. I've been doing, Christian comedy, Christian clean comedy for almost 14 years. So over that time, I have a lot of things that I can go into church and just start talking, and it would be nothing. Probably about 45 minutes to an hour worth of jokes that I just have that have just come over time. But when I know that there's not an audience that isn't familiar with church life or church lingo or Christianity or the Bible, I struggle with that sometimes. So I was like, I need to go see some people and do some jokes for some people who don't necessarily come from my environment.
Right.
So that's why I said this year I'm gonna do that. Because I probably only got about a good 20 minutes that I can say people outside of church. So this year I was like, I'm gonna do it, but
you should definitely do it, Fefe. It's like, I think that because I watched your one of your routines, and I think Stefan had put on a show at a church. I forget what the venue was, but I saw your your church set's really funny. It's really good, and that actually even that set could work. Believe it or not, at a club. That could work at a club or like easily.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who go to church and go to the club, and they still understand what's going on.
Oh, they do. They really do. I mean, they get. I mean, I tell church jokes at Mike sometimes too, and they get it. Usually, it's more observational, but I'll tell some church jokes there, and it works just the same. What doesn't work, however, Fefe, is when you try to switch it the other way around, and then you go into the church and tell that joke.
Yeah, I've seen some epic failures in that department where people feel like they can just take their joke, take a couple of the bad words out, say it, and then at the end of the joke, when they're supposed to be laughing, the people are looking like this.
Woo! Fefe, let me tell you something. Fefe, for real, and you're 100% correct, because it happened. Fefe, it happened to me. I did. Woo! It was terrible. Hey, Fefe, I did a spoken word event, right? And you know, spoken word events. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And so they had comics at the end. Yeah, they had comics at the end, right? So I'm like, and I tell this joke. It's in the club. I got a 95% laugh rate response on this joke in the club. Right. Keep in mind, I'm a clean comic, but I was talking about how the NFL had made the N-word a penalty, right?
Okay.
Like 3 years ago. And so I made a joke about it. I was like, because these young African-American males, they throw this thing around like a tennis ball. It's it's nothing. And the referees, what? The majority of NFL referees are middle-aged white men.
Yes.
And they don't know what to do with it. And these brothers like I mean, it's just going back and forth. I mean, and so they made it a penalty. Yeah. So I said, you know what? I said, that's crazy. I said, that's like penalizing a white man for saying to another white man, dude. And so I said, can you imagine the referee? We have a penalty on number 21 for calling another player dude, 15 yards, first down, Confederate flag. Just throw that out, right? Now, that joke works in the club a lot. I mean, I usually get that, but they woo. Now I gotta be Fefe. Let me just say this, Fefe. I gotta say this to you though. Full transparency. Now, I made a mistake because my oldest son was like, "Yo, Dad, I don't think you should tell that joke here today." Right?
And
so
I always get a good response from this joke. Yeah, I'm a do it.
and you know the reason I did it, Fefe, I came out there and I was killing. I was telling these preacher jokes. Fefe, I'm not lying. I mean, the flash bulbs was going off. They were with it. And I was like, okay, maybe if I throw this one out, I might get away with it. Even if they don't like it, Fefe, they'll forgive me. They love me. You know, that's what I was thinking. You know, I was like, let me see if I, because you know, as comedians, we feel like we just like to push boundaries.
Yeah,
We just can't help it.
it's true.
It's to a fault. Like it's like I feel like, you know, wow, I shouldn't be that way, but I can't help it. I'd love to push boundaries because guess what? If it works,
That is the most satisfaction that you would probably feel. It worked.
and ladies and gentlemen, and so if it doesn't work, oh, it's terrible.
Right. That's
So
true.
anyway,
When I start my set, whenever I go somewhere and I start my set, I'll usually throw out 3 little one-liners just to see how they respond,
right,
so I can know what other jokes they won't be sensitive to.
right,
True.
right. Yeah, in a church because they're sensitive. Oh my gosh, they're so sensitive. But I mean, again, I'm not even gonna act like you know, I wasn't wrong because I was wrong. What really what really made it wrong for real, and I was like I was saying an African American male, a young African American male talking to another young African American male will greet each other. I wasn't reckless now. I wasn't reckless, but I
Right.
just said, you know, I just said how they actually, and I thought it was about as tame a way I could describe it, but I just shouldn't. The thing about it is, Fefe,
You tried to clean up the joke and messed it up. Is that what you did?
I actually said it. I said the N word, and I felt like, oh, I wasn't thinking. Fefe, it was my bad. I deserved to get it.
Yeah. And then
you know,
being a comedian, when you have the audience in the palm of your hand and they've laughed at that first 10 minutes and you got 5 more minutes and you're like, well, let me try this. And then they don't go with you.
Yeah. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Feel like they're gonna forgive you for that, for if it doesn't work. But then afterwards, you get all these little looks like,
yeah, that was oh, Fefe, that was a bad example to say that, you know, let me give you another example. You'll get with this one better than that was pretty brutal. I got what I deserved. But let me just say this. I was at another place and my wife had an incident on the highway with this dude in a fishnet shirt. I forget what happened, but I made a joke about it. It was funny. I think there was an accident out there or something. I don't know. I forget what I threw the joke away, but it was funny. And so I told the joke and everybody laughed. And the booker, the lady that booked me, came up to the stage in the middle of the show. And she said, "Come here." What? And she whispered, "You just offended my nephew. He's gay." You believe that? she said, "Hey, Phoebe," she said, "and I want you to apologize." I said, "Oh man, what?" And I apologized.
Right in the middle of while you're talking, though.
Yes. She came right up there and did that.
Oh.
Now, Fefe, the guy, her nephew in question, was wearing a fishnet shirt. Hey, Fefe, I never saw the guy, but Fefe, I never saw him.
That was
I didn't even know he was there.
Listen, whatever.
And so the crowd, after the show, they said, "Man, you should not have apologized for that. That was funny. It's his fault that he came to a comedy show with a fishnet shirt on anyway." Everybody came up to me.
The comedy shows wearing, regular clothing, be as neutral as possible. Don't wear no bright colors. Don't wear no furs. Don't come in with no popped collars. You don't need no attention, because if you come in here wearing that crazy stuff, I'm gonna come for you. Like at that show I did with Stefan earlier this year, the lady came in with this big fur on and came I'm talking about in the middle of my set. She came all the way down the middle aisle and sat on the second row. I was like, God. You didn't just walk up in here like you the Queen of England. Are you serious?
I saw that. That was funny. That was good.
I was like, ma'am.
Oh, that was good too, Felicia. I love the way that you did it. You're really good at stage. You could do that stuff in a club easily. Your jokes were great. It would work easily at a mic or a club easily.
You think so?
You should definitely do it.
At this point, I'm not afraid of trying it at this point. Like before, I was like, oh no, it ain't gonna work. Oh, blah, blah. But I'm like, okay, man, let's just try it. If it works, if it don't, oh well.
It would kill. The thing about these mics where they're like using a lot of profanity and all these different things. If they don't, at the end of the day, the audience really doesn't care as long as you're funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I learned. It's like they're just an audience and they just want you to make them laugh. And so the stuff that you're doing is funny.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it would definitely work. But I think the political correctness do you know Bone Hampton?
I know Bone Hampton through like 3 degrees. I don't know him, but I know people that know him. If that makes sense.
So Bone. Okay. Bone.
I know him. Yeah, I know him. We go way back. What you talking about?
Right. But he's at the point right now, Felicia, where he's like, you know what? I'm going to separate my comedy to where I'm going to do shows for grown Christian folk.
Wow.
So that means don't bring your kids.
Right.
You know, and it's not like he's going to be cussing. It's not like he's going to be using profanity or he's going to be vile or irreverent, but he's going to be real.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I the reason I'm saying is, and Fefe, I definitely, the story I told you where I messed up. That's not what I'm talking about. I deserved it. Anyway, but what I'm
you asked for that one. All right.
I did. But Fefe, what I'm saying is a lot of times as Christians, we can't talk about what we're really going through and what we're really struggling with. And we get mortified like, oh, I would never do that because we wear masks in church.
We're supposed to tell all our problems to Jesus. And that's the only person we're supposed to tell them to. That's why we have mental disease in church, because ain't nobody talking to nobody.
There it is.
I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. Go ahead.
So Bone is going to, but no, he's going to start doing shows like that, you know, just where people can kind of like talk about our faith in a funny way, because we know we all deal with stuff. He calls it the cookie cutter church. But I learned, though, you gotta be on your game when you go in there. I learned my lesson, Fefe.
You know what? I've had similar experiences, but I think a lot of times when I have bad experiences on stage with jokes that I throw out, it's because I'm trying to censor the joke and fix the joke while it's coming out, and then I end up taking away, you know, the authenticity of it. So then I'm like, like I was when I did a church, because you know I can do Black churches all day. But I've had a lot of invitations to come to predominantly white churches, and I'm always on stage like, I have no idea what y'all think is funny. Like, so I have this joke that I always say when I'm doing Black churches. It's where I say, oh, we all need, you know, white Christian people in our life because they keep us calm. You know.
Yes.
My white saved friends say stuff like this. Oh, I'm so glad I'm saved. But my Black church friends say stuff like this. You better be glad I'm saved. And I do that joke at Black churches and they are on the floor. So I'm at this white church and I'm in my mind, you know how it is. In my mind, I'm like, do the joke.
Right.
And I'm talking about another joke. I'm like, do it. So as coming out, I over explained the beginning of the joke. I don't know what I said. I was like, I mean, I know that you guys are very this, and I was just like, oh, it messed it up. So by the time I got to the punchline, it was just kind of like
They missed. They
because I didn't trust that they would understand the humor of it.
yeah,
So
right.
I should have just said the joke like I always say it, but I was nervous that because I did it to myself.
Well, no. And I like that you said that because a lot of black comedians, particularly black comedians, black male comedians struggle. Like they can go to, you'd be surprised to hear this, but they go to a Def Comedy Jam room, an urban room, and
Right.
I mean, just tear it up, right?
Right.
And then if they get in front of a mixed or an all white audience, they feel like they have to doctor their material so they will understand it. You don't doctor anything.
Right.
Because they already they get everything. They know exactly what we talk about to a certain extent. Now, to a certain extent, they know. But if you change it to try to make them happy, it's going to fall off the table. And a lot of black comedians don't even try it because they don't think they can, get over it. But the successful black comics that like Kevin Hart or you name anybody that like a Mike Epps or whatever, they can go anywhere and do it because they don't ever change.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. You got to, like you said, you got to stay true to yourself, to your authenticity. That's who you are.
Right.
That's what you are about, and it'll work. But that's a key lesson that a lot of comedians have to understand. Is like, don't change. The only thing that you change, maybe in some cases, perhaps might be like a subject matter.
Right.
Depending on your type of humor. Like in DC, I can go to an urban room. I did an urban room one night talking about blackface. Okay. And the governor, Ralph Northam, got caught up in it, and his attorney general, they got caught up wearing blackface back when they were in college, right? And they tried to deny it and all that stuff. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, being down there in Florida, but it was a big problem in Virginia.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So I made a joke about it.
Yeah.
And it was really funny at the urban room. I went to an all-white elitist crowd, demographic age-wise 25 to 35, privileged entitled group.
Ooh.
They were not feeling that.
I can see their faces right now.
Oh, they were mortified. But you know what's really, hey, Fefe, you know what's really funny? There was a white guy up in front, and he thought it was hilarious. He was laughing so hard. But Fefe, but he wouldn't give it up. Like he didn't want them to know that he thought, I was watching it too, and he was laughing every joke. And I was like, this was too real for these people. Yeah, but I said, okay. And I was using references like Grandmaster Flash, from back in the day. They don't know who Grandmaster Flash is. So I was like, okay, so
I don't know.
You got to just remember the audience you're talking to. What would they be familiar with? As long as you stay on that track, you can do it. You can do your comedy in front of anybody.
Right.
But it's so many things to learn.
You know what? That's interesting that you say that, because I had this discussion with a couple of comedians a couple of months ago, and they had never thought about the idea of laughter. Like when you have someone in a room, it's easier to make a room full of people laugh than it is to make a room that only has a few people, because people are uncomfortable being the spotlight.
That's true.
And laughing. So I'm not going to laugh as hard as I would when it's only a few of us, because then y'all are going to hear me laugh. But when it's a lot of people are more comfortable and they relax better because they don't feel like anybody's going to single them out if they laugh really hard. So
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
a
good
lot
point.
of times, if the room is dark, you will kill on stage. If the lights are low, you will
Yeah,
kill because nobody's, apprehensive about, okay, people can see me laughing.
yeah,
A lot of people, they laugh, and cover their mouth. They laugh and cover their eyes because laughing is this natural reaction, but people are embarrassed by it.
yes, they are.
So when you said that guy was on the front row and he was trying to hold it in,
Yeah,
because even though it was funny for him, he didn't want to be singled out and be the only person laughing. So he was like, let me suck this in. I'm not gonna
yeah,
be the only one. Yeah,
and
and that's
yeah,
so true.
and that's exactly what he did. And I was amazed at that because when you're up there on stage, Fefe, you see so many things.
Right.
You see so many things. I was doing a show once, and I was doing really well, but there was one guy. It was this one white guy, and he was giving me the death stare. And hey, yo, Fefe, this dude look.
I'm laughing because I know that look. I know it.
This dude looked like he wanted to kill me, and I didn't get it. Everybody's having a good time, but he's just mad about something. And I just ignored him. I focused on people that were having fun. And that's another thing about comedy. You don't focus on people like that. Just focus on the people that are having a good time. Focus on the people that like you. But you see a lot of stuff like that in the audience.
You
It's
know what's
crazy.
crazy? Down here in South Florida, we have a lot of different cultures. So I've done, different events where it was primarily people from, the islands. It would be, Jamaicans, Bahamians, and a lot of times older Jamaican or Bahamian or Trinidadian gentlemen don't laugh out loud like that, right?
Yeah,
So I had to get used to this, but like I'll be on stage and I'll be, ripping off these jokes and everybody and you
yeah,
have those couple of guys that are just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. You do. You have that.
one day this guy came up to me after the show and I promise you this guy did not laugh one time during my entire set, but
Okay.
he came up to me after the show and was like, I really enjoyed you. And I was like, you did?
I,
I couldn't tell
I
because you was the
I've
whole
seen
time.
Fefe. It is really weird. I've seen the same thing. You can see some people that are not laughing at you, and they just seem like either they're just indifferent or they're not being entertained. They just got the stone face, and then later they'll tell you that they loved it, they enjoyed it. I don't. But you got to feel good because there are people out there that's going through a lot of deep stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and they make the people going through some deep stuff that they've been going through for so long. They'll probably never laugh again out loud. I
Right.
should say that, but
But
I,
then
I'm just,
but on the inside,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, on the inside, you're helping them to see things with another perspective. You're helping them to calm down their spirit. You're lighting their load a little bit, but they're probably not going to be bust out laughing all over the floor. But that doesn't mean that you're not being effective. I had to learn that too.
yeah, exactly. And so the gift that God has given us, I mean, it really helps people.
Right.
It really does. It's like we have no idea how much of a medicine that we are providing for the world.
That you not that you say that it reminded me of an event that I did, and I promise you, I didn't want to do this event. There was, I was real apprehensive about it. This pastor called me to come to his church, and he wanted me to be the speaker for Sunday morning.
Okay.
And I was like, "You want me to just do jokes when you're supposed to be preaching?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna preach." He's like, "We're gonna do the offering, and I'm gonna give you the mic, and you just do however long you want to, and you just do
Yeah.
jokes." And
Right.
I said, "Okay," but I really didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because it just seemed so weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I guess it seemed out of place. I guess.
yeah, yeah. But reluctantly, I did it, and I got, some good reception. It wasn't like I killed. It wasn't like, oh, they were on the floor, but they laughed.
Yeah.
And after the service, this gentleman came up to me, and this guy, I didn't even remember seeing him laugh at all. He came up to me and he said, I've been dealing with a lot of things, and I just want to thank you. And he
Wow.
shook my hand and put a check in my hand.
Whoa.
And I tried to lift my hand up, and he grabbed my hand and he was like, I just want to say thank you, and walked out the door. This man gave me a check for $175.
Wow. Amazing.
And that was aside from the fee that, the pastor paid me. And
yes,
of
course.
It was like, wait, what? And when I tell you, it was like, okay, so that was the reason that I needed to come here today. If it wasn't for anybody else in the audience, for that reason alone, because I don't know what that man was dealing with. I don't know if he was suicidal. I don't know if he had just lost his family. I don't know if he was dealing with cancer. I don't know. But for whatever reason, God needed me to be there at that time to help him to move past whatever it is he was dealing with. And I was like, wow.
That is amazing. So
apprehensive. It was crazy. I was just like,
it happens. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bright couple. So it's a white couple. They're called it's Sherry and Richard Bright. That's their name, and they're a comedy couple.
Oh wow! No, I've never heard of them.
And so they talk about marital issues with comedy. And they talk about their lives, and they make jokes about it. And they did a show, and they said someone came up to them and did the same thing to them. So you change my whole perspective on my marriage, and all these type of things. So we just don't know. First of all, it's a gift from God to be able to just rack off jokes all the time. For whatever reason, we just see the funny side of things for whatever reason. And it's a gift.
That extra eye, that perspective, that it never turns off. And it's so scary sometimes, because I used to get in trouble when I was younger, because I'd be cracking up during the altar call, during funerals. I'd be, in the middle of, a doctor's office, and I'd see things and I'd be cracking up.
Yeah.
Will you stop laughing? Will you calm down? It's because I always was able to see, funny things around me that other people didn't necessarily see how it was funny.
Right.
So then the gift that we have is that we can take what we saw and then rework it and then explain it to you so that you can see what made it funny to me.
And
I tell a lot of people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and in doing that, you're letting people know there's a brighter side to this.
Right.
There's a brighter side.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of automatically see the brighter side all the time, and we make jokes.
Right.
Can't help it. It's just this mechanism that God has given us to release the tension, the pain, the stress, all of that stuff. That is that mechanism that's not just for us, it's for the world.
Right.
It's for other people that don't see light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when you told that story about the guy, just having this straight face, it's like the guy was just so enriched inside.
Yeah.
By what you were doing, even though you couldn't see it on the outside, you were like changing his whole perspective of life.
Right.
Right. And so it's just a powerful tool. We just gotta learn how to use it right, not use the N word at the church show. But anyway, let me just say this to you, Fefe. Fefe, what is the biggest thing that you have learned about stand-up comedy since you've been doing this?
Oh man. I guess from an artist's perspective,
yes.
The biggest lesson that I feel like I've learned is that everybody is not going to think that I'm funny.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's very interesting because a lot of times as artists, we feel bad when we have, a bad show, or we feel bad because we wanted to kill and we didn't. And a lot of times it's because of the audience and it's their perspective on the things that you perceive. So if you don't understand my perspective, comedy is relative. If you don't understand my perspective, or if you can't relate to what I'm talking about, if what I'm saying is not an interest to you,
Yeah.
then you may not think that it's funny. There are people that believe that Kevin Hart is the greatest comedian that ever lived.
Yeah. Yes.
I think Kevin Hart has wonderful delivery, but
Yes.
greatest comedian, I can't put him in that category.
I can't sign off on that, although he's very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
his delivery is amazing.
Yeah.
I give him credit for that, but I can't
Yeah.
be like, he's not one of my favorites. And that
Right.
doesn't take anything away from him. I'm excited for the brother.
Yes.
So if I go to a Kevin Hart show, I will probably laugh twice. And I'm just being real with you. And it's not because what he's saying isn't funny to somebody.
Uh-huh.
It's just not funny to me. So I have to learn as a comedian and as as an artist, just like with music, with musical artists, there's some artists who I just can't take. And I'm sure you're the same way. Don't put that on in my house. I don't like that singer. I don't like that rapper. I'm not listening to that. It's
Right.
because it's not something that you relate to. It's not something that you understand. So as an artist, I had to learn that. I really had to learn that, because those first 5 or 6 years, I quit like 9 times. because I wasn't, I would kill at one event, and then I would go to another event and then it wouldn't work. And I'd be like, but these same jokes I told at the other event, they worked so well.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did wrong. And I
Yeah.
had to learn that everybody is not going to understand your comedy. That's why we have so many different artists in the world. If we only needed one comedian, we wouldn't need all these other people. So God has gifted you with a perspective for a certain group of people that you are going to bless. And it's okay if you don't bless the people who don't get blessed by you.
It's okay. It really is okay. And that kind of keeps your perspective in the right place when you look at it that way, because you're not going to kill all the time. We're not perfect. And, there are losses in this game of comedy. And you have to be able to roll with the punches because it's part of it.
Yeah.
And it keeps you mentally healthy as a performer when you understand that. It's like, oh man, you know what? And this is this kind of the scary part of being a stand-up comic, is that once you get to the point where you're pretty good and you do well most of the time, there's always that haunting idea of, yeah, but I could bomb tonight. It could happen.
Oh my God. That is so funny. Yes, you're right. Like it's always right there in the back of your mind, like, yeah, I'm good or whatever. But
But you know what that is, though? You know what that is? That's called humility. The fact that you understand that means that you understand humility. Because when you get to that point, you get a big head, you get arrogant, and then God has to deal with you.
Right.
But if you can keep it, because that's all that is. When you get to the point where it's like, I'm the man and I'm gonna kill, I'm like that, all that type of stuff, that doesn't work. And you got to have an open, fresh perspective on the fact that, Jerry Seinfeld told the story once, and I don't know if you like Jerry Seinfeld or not, but he said, look, I did a show once and I told this joke. I get laughs on this joke so much. I told it and I wasn't even paying attention to the joke while I was telling it. He's like, because I already know everybody's going to love this joke. Everybody's going to laugh. He said,
this is the crowd favorite. What you mean?
Oh, they love it. They love it. He said he was in the back in his mind. He said he was in the back room, just looking at, his dresser and maybe putting the laundry away. That's how he was describing it, because they're gonna laugh, and he hit the punchline, nothing. they looked at him like he was crazy, and it was like he was like he said that kind of messed with him a little bit because he just didn't understand it. But you and I, as followers of Christ, we know what it was. It's called arrogance.
Yeah.
You were prideful. It wasn't that the way he described it, Fefe. He was like, it was just that little look in your eye. It was that little movement that you made. It was that something that they saw that wasn't right, and they didn't laugh. But you can
Nah.
say all of that.
You got puffed up. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
You can say all of that, but at the end of the day, it's called arrogance.
Yeah.
And you got humbled. But
I told my husband all the time, he always asks me, how you feel when I'm about to go on stage or when we go to events. And I get nervous all the time. And I told him that if I ever get to the point where I don't get nervous, I'm going to stop performing. Because
Great
if
point.
I'm not nervous, then I'm not concerned if whether or not I'm going to deliver the way I'm supposed to.
And you won't believe, hey, Fefe, believe me, and you won't.
Right.
Because that nervousness is what drives you to be really, really, really good. Because by the time you get to the mic, it's like, it's too late. It's go time. It's on like Donkey Kong. It's time to roll. You see what I'm saying? And so that nervousness that you carried with you to the stage is going to drive you through that set because you've done it so many times. You know your material so well.
Right.
You have become so seasoned, you don't even know how seasoned you've become. So that nervousness will turn into energy, and it'll just drive you all the way to the set. To the point, Fefe, I've gotten to the point, 10 seconds before I get on stage, I'll go, I have no idea how I'm going to remember all of this stuff. Right? Then I get up there and I go right through. I say every joke. Every joke that I want to say. Boom.
Yep, it just comes out.
It just comes out. And then here's the kicker for me. Then when I look, because I like to grade myself and I like to look at the video. So when I look at the video and I'm going, I do not look like I feel.
Wow.
Because I mean, I'm under control. I'm composed. I'm just kind of chilling up there, just kicking it.
Right. But on the inside, you're like,
And that amazes me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I look like that. Wow. So
I look so calm.
Yeah, I'm so calm and just chilling. Wow. So, and people, to the casual observer, they have no idea how much work and effort and experience on stage that was required, Fefe, to get to that point. So invariably, you'll have people who look at that think they're funny because they make people laugh at dinner parties or on the job in the break room. They'll go, I can do that. And I go, have at it.
Have a go. Go ahead. You do that. Let me know how it goes.
I don't explain anything. Yeah. I don't say, oh, but dude, help yourself. Okay. Because then you will find out immediately whether or not you ever want to do it again.
Yep. It took a long time because I feel like for me, I've been funny all my life. But when I started doing, stand-up, it took a while for me to figure out the rhythm and figure out my voice and figure out, how to make someone else see what's funny to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I don't do jokes that are not funny to me. If somebody tells a joke and I don't think it's funny, I'm not going to. Well, first of all, I don't use other people's jokes. First of all, I write all my jokes. So I'm not gonna write a joke and perform it, and it didn't make me laugh first. So when I first started comedy, I didn't understand that. I was trying to do jokes that other people might think is funny.
There you go. That's a good learning point.
My voice. I lost my own voice. So a lot of times, as a young comedian, you're trying so hard to please the audience that you don't realize that in pleasing the audience just wants to know your personal perspective.
That's all they want to know.
Yeah, your perspective is 90% of your success rate. Are you really tapping 100%. Into your own personal perspective, or are you trying to please the audience? Because the audience doesn't like it when you just come up there and try to spew some jokes to make them giggle. They want to know who you are.
Listen, let me tell you something. They can smell what's the word? I don't want to say inauthenticity, but they can smell when you're not being real from a mile away.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever watched Key and Peele? The comedy duo, they do sketch comedy.
Yep.
And I watched the taller one. I think his name is Michael Key. They were invited to do a big comedy show out in Los Angeles at a 15,000 seater in an arena, right? Now, keep in mind, they're not stand-up comics.
Right.
They're sketch comics that do a show on a pre-recorded show at that. It's not even in front of a live studio audience. And of course, they are funny. Their sketches are really funny and all of that. So they were hired based on the sketch comedy show rather than being stand-up comics. You see what I'm saying? And they took the gig. Get this one, Fefe. They took the gig because, hey, we're Key and Peele. You know, they're going to love us. So Ari Spears, get this. Ari Spears. I don't know if you're familiar with Ari Spears.
Yeah, I know Ari Spears. He was on Mad TV, right?
I'm not. He may have been on that. I'm not sure, but he's a really good stand-up comic.
He does the impressions and stuff.
Okay, yeah, he's a good stand-up, and so Ari's out there killing. He's coming off the stage because Key and Peele are next, and he looked at them and he said, "Y'all are going out there together?" And they were like, "Oh yeah."
Richard, what's it?
Yeah. And so they get out there. I kid you not, according to Michael Key, this is his description of what happened. 15,000 fans. And when they came out, they went crazy because it's Key and Peele. He said it did not take 10 seconds before a section of 500 to 900 people started booing. In 10 seconds. He said
wow.
they were there to do 20 minutes. He said it was so bad before they got off, because they did 9 minutes. They didn't make 20. He said when they got off, the entire arena booed them off the stage. Do you believe that?
I believe it. Yes. Because you can't, it's really hard for you two of you to go on stage and be your authentic self, because you have to come on as a character. And if you're coming on as a character, you already are losing the battle, first of all.
Yeah.
Because when you're in character, you have to be totally committed to that character. You can't be 75%, 80%. You have to be all the way in. And if you're not all the way into that character you committed to, then that's going to be even worse than you actually coming on stage and you're not being your authentic self. That's
exactly.
That's a double.
And so I told that story. I share that story, not in the sense that they were necessarily being, or trying to be disingenuous. They didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
They're not stand-up comics. So they probably did behave in the manner you described of being, inauthentic. Like, the audience smelled it from a mile away that they didn't know what they were doing.
And they didn't mean to. They didn't mean to do that. It was just because of their lack of experience with being in that type of situation.
And Ari tried to warn them before they went up there, and he was like, "Good luck," and they just bombed. And so what I'm saying is, long story short, comedy is a brutal game.
Yeah,
it's a brutal game.
Even if you go into churches, it's still brutal.
So you have to know this craft, and you have to know what you're doing. And the audience, they immediately know whether or not you know what you're doing. You don't even necessarily have to be the funniest guy in the world if you know how to handle that spotlight.
Right.
You'll get at least some respect at the very least if you're not that good. But it's always say it's like taming a lion. Sit down Get back. I mean, you really got to be on point. But we had a lot of folks that had made some comments. You know, people. E.T. Ford's made a lot of comments. She said we kept them laughing. We told some great stories. Angel Holland and then Valita was on earlier. But you know what? Hey, Fefe, we're gonna wrap it up. I didn't even. Yeah, I probably only asked you one of my questions.
Look, I'm sitting here waiting for the questions. I'm like, is that all the questions he gonna ask? I guess. Okay.
I had such fun just chopping it up with you. I
about
didn't even
comedy theory and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even. I got to have you back on the show because I didn't get into any of the stuff.
Look, the audience don't know nothing about me. They don't know nothing. They just like, well, I know her name, Fefe. That's about it.
Well, you know what? Real quick, Fefe, do you have anything coming up as far as projects that you're working on?
You know what? I started a online show, and I said that I actually started it before the whole pandemic, happened. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this once a month. And then when the pandemic happened, everybody was going live and doing shows and trying. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be part of this right now. So now that everything has slowed down, I'm gonna try to start that back up next month.
Okay.
So it's just a live show that I do on Facebook, and I talk about what's not funny, and the idea behind why people feel like it's okay to censor comedians and their subjects, and whether or not something is funny and what makes it funny and why isn't it funny and who has the right to say what's funny. So yeah, I'll be going real deep. So I had fun. I did 2 shows, but I haven't done one since February, and I'm going to start it back again in September. So that'll be fun.
You should do it. I think you would be great on the virtual platform. You would be awesome, especially as a host on a platform like this. You would be great. You should definitely do it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I have that, and then my birthday is coming up next week. Actually, I'm going to turn 35. Praise the Lord.
Amen. Amen.
I'm doing a virtual comedy show on Zoom, and I'm going to post the information. So I'm going to be hosting. It's going to be like kind of like an open mic, and I'll be there, hosting, and a lot of my comedy friends will be on doing, their sets and stuff. Just celebrating, we'll be on there for about an hour.
And when will the Soul Funny radio show return again?
I'm not sure the exact date.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact date. So, stay on the page, and I'll post up some updates if we get that.
Awesome stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking with Felicia Frazier, aka comedian Fefe, and you can follow her on Instagram at comedian Fefe, and as well you can follow her. Her website would be comedianfefe.com.
Yeah.
So definitely follow her. Very, very, and I'm telling you right now, I forgot to mention that you also are into theater as well.
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in theater. Yeah, that was my first. Well, I can't say it was my first love because I was doing comedy first, but whatever. I love theater.
Yeah. And have you been in a part of any productions recently, or do you have anything like that maybe coming up?
You know what? No, that was something, that I said I would start back doing in 2020 again. 2020 was like, I was like, you know what, 2020, I'm coming out the box, son.
Yeah.
But, with being a teacher, I was a teacher for 10 years. I'm still a teacher. I'm on leave right now because, I had my babies, and I was like, I got to take care of my children. Y'all give me a break. But
yes,
being a teacher is almost like life consuming.
Yeah.
So being a teacher, I didn't realize that it was going to be such a commitment, and it forced me to take a step back from all these other things that I do. Because either you're going to be a good teacher and have virtually no time to do anything else, or you're going to be a horrible teacher. So you have to kind of make a decision.
Right, exactly.
So I'm taking some time off right now to kind of get started and, get back into, my love, which is being on stage. So I will be auditioning for some plays this year. Gonna try to get into some film. and starting my online stuff. I'm trying to do some good things, man. I want to be a blessing to people, and I want people to be encouraged. And I feel like, those people who God has placed in my pathway who are encouraged by the type of comedy that I do and the perspective that I have, I want to be able to reach out to them and help them in any way that I can. So I'm trying to
All
get.
right. Well,
Yeah.
Fefe, thank you once again for being on the show. And like I said, I'm going to have you back on in the near future because we had some great comedy discussions for sure. And I just, my gosh, I didn't cover nearly as much, but it was a great combo. And I mean, I appreciate you being on the show. I think the show was very, very good. And so maybe down the road and I like maybe in a couple of months, maybe we can I can have you back on. What do you think?
Okay, sure. Yeah, invite me back. I appreciate it. I had a good time with you. This was awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. It was.
You
One more
can't
time,
talk
everybody.
theory like
Felicia,
that with everybody.
what was that?
No, I said it's really difficult to have these kind of conversations with people who don't really know much about comedy. So I
Oh
guess we
yeah.
both were just like, yeah, let me go ahead and explain.
Hey, Felicia, we believe. Hey, we've seen a lot. But you know what? You can't do this if it's not fun. If this is not really truly fun for you, you can't do it
Yeah,
because
you're
you
not
can't
gonna
do it.
survive.
So it's all good. It's all good. Everybody, Felicia Frazier, comedian Fefe. God bless you, Fefe, and may the peace of Christ be with you and your family. Thank you so
Thank
much. God
you.
bless you.
God bless you. Bye, everyone.